over to the hydro very, very briefly before we say goodbye to you on BBC One. Then we're switching for BBC Two. Lots of drama there yesterday in the men's team final gymnastics, but also today in the men's individual final. So let's hand you to Matt Baker, who's with Beth Tweddle. Good afternoon to you, Matt.
Very good afternoon indeed, Jason. Yes, we're just waiting the arrival of the gymnasts for this men's all-around competition. And Beth, there is real kudos, isn't there, with this final?
There is, and there's so much talent out there. I mean, I've just been looking through the start order. We've got people that have won silver medals all around in the World Championships and Olympic medals. So, yeah, it's going to be great.
Just to put it into perspective from a home nation's point of view, of the 24 gymnasts that are competing, 8 of them are from the home nation, 7 of which have qualified in the top 10, and that is without Sam Oldham, who took a very tough landing there. But all eyes will be on Max Whitlock. Now, yesterday in the qualifications, he scored a 90 plus, which is a phenomenal score. I mean, it's a very exclusive club, that 90, isn't it?
Every male gymnast that does the all-around, they want to break that 90 mark. That means they've got to get an average of 15 on each piece, which it's incredibly difficult to do. But Max was 4 marks ahead of the rest of the field. And,
well, the gymnast that he was ahead of was very close to that 90, and the gymnast that's just come up from junior ranks. Now, this is Niall Wilson, and what a performance he has had here in Glasgow.
Do you know what? It's very difficult to make that step from sort of junior levels to senior levels, but he stepped up to the mark. He loves performing in this atmosphere, and you could really tell he was thriving off it yesterday.
Frank Baines is another one who's competing for Scotland, who's come up through those junior ranks. We've also got Dan Keatings to keep an eye on, and also Dan Purvis. Who's your money on here, Beth?
Do you know what? I think we don't really need to talk about gold. As long as everything goes clean, I think
Silver
it's going to be... Oh, gosh. I think Niall and... Oh, I don't know. I can't even say.
I'm going to say Keatings and Wilson.
I'll go Purvis and Wilson then.
All right then. All right then. Well, listen, join us very shortly as the gymnasts work their way around 6 pieces of apparatus. But for now, we will bounce back to you across at Pacific Quay. We can't wait. Join us very shortly.
Brilliantly done, Matt. Thank you very much indeed. Very non-committal there from Beth Tweddle. I suppose the big question this afternoon, as Matt says, is can anyone stop Max Whitlock? So we'll find out over on BBC Two. Switch over now and join us for the men's individual final from the hydro. But from all of us here, bye for now.
And look at that for Max Whitlock, 31.332. That translates into real super world class if he can keep it up. Daniel Keatings in second now. Wilson doing very well in third place. Daniel Purvis, after the pummel problem, is in 4th at the moment. But look at Clinton Purnell in 5th place.
What was my prediction?
Yeah, all right. It's only 2 pieces in. We've still got time yet. We've still got time.
No, that was impressive stuff, obviously, from half of the home nations with Niall Wilson, Max Whitlock. I mean, just superb, using all of that twisting and turning you saw on floor and pommel.
And he will have gone up knowing that the pressure's on him. He's the one that everyone's watching. So, I mean, obviously he has got that leeway that if he makes a mistake, he can still win it. But he's a perfectionist. He'll want to go out there and do his best.
Keatings is looking good, isn't he? I mean, because he can just be a little bit hit and miss at times, but looking focused.
And I was so pleased for him on that pommel. That's his specialist apparatus. And it's not long that he's been back in that 6-piece sort of competition. So it's a whole new pressure for him again. He did it sort of 5 years ago, but he's been away from it for a while.
And, I mean, it's interesting how costly that fall will be for Purvis and for Baines, because actually, if they've got their fall out the way, they'll be more relaxed now. And obviously there's more of a fight and a fire in there, and it doesn't have to put pressure on the likes of Wilson Keatings to keep clean. Yeah,
different gymnasts will take it different ways. Some of them will say, do you know what, I've had a fall, I've got nothing to lose now, let's just go give it my all.
Yeah.
Whereas Max and that will obviously be looking at that and thinking, some will go, oh, I can relax a bit because they've had their fall, but some will, to be honest, they won't even have noticed what's going on with the rest of their competitors.
Yeah, and Purvis, British champion on rings, so the next piece of apparatus is good for him, but for the younger gymnasts, you know, this is where they could struggle because it is a strong man's event.
Yeah, I mean, typically British gymnasts aren't known for being that strong, but I mean, Niall, he could bring a few points back in here, and obviously Max has upgraded his rings, so do you know what, it's still all to play for. I would not... That order is not your order just yet.
And well, no, but this is why there is, with the 3rd rotation, this David Bishop from New Zealand. So same order then, as it stands.
Sure is, Max, but it's only halfway.
No. Well, that's a good point, actually. Let's talk about the being halfway, what it actually means to the gymnasts, because you come in here and now we're at the business end, really, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they've got over their initial nerves, getting the atmosphere of the gym, and now it's just a case of they've got to keep that focus going. For the men, it is so difficult, 6 pieces of apparatus, and it's such a long time to keep that concentration. And with 8 people being in a group, you can be sort of, after your warm-up, waiting 20 minutes before you do your routine.
Yeah, we were slightly harsh in commentary saying that this was a weak piece for Max, but in you know, when you look at the whole of his 6 pieces and put it into perspective, it is the weaker, but he did not perform it well.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, his weakest piece, and he's still scoring a 14.7, so we can hardly call it a weak. But like you say, if you want to be in that top space in the all-around, you have to have a great score on every piece. Yeah,
and again, I mean, you just look at his style. I mean, it's incredibly strenuous, obviously, this piece of apparatus, but how he makes it look so effortless.
That's the one thing about Max. There's every skill he does, it might not have necessarily the highest difficulty on rings, but there's nothing for the judges to deduct from, so his execution value is really high, and obviously that's great for him. He can keep building that difficulty and just hopefully keep the execution as well. And
one thing that we're not seeing on these score captions is exactly that point, the difficulty and the execution. So just give everybody an idea of how the scoring does work.
So basically you get 2 scores. One is your difficulty value, how many elements are you putting in, how difficult is each element, and then you've got the execution, which comes from 10 and gradually will work its way down. If you fall over, you lose a whole mark, and then the 2 scores are put together.
Yeah, and in the construction of a routine, because these are not set pieces, everybody's not doing the same thing. It's up to you, really, isn't it, what you want to include?
Yeah, I mean, mainly the coaches will come up with your routines, but the gymnasts will have an input. They'll say, do you know what, I really like this, or I don't like this, but they'll work to the code. Like with Max, we were saying on floor, he's such a great twister, so they've decided to really play the code with that.
And some gymnasts even have their own move, don't they?
Some of us might, yeah.
So yeah, we can see obviously Max, well, he's well ahead halfway around, almost 2 marks clear of Keatings, and Wilson there in 3rd. And just a word on Niall Wilson, how he's managing to keep his I mean, he looks, I said there, he looked unaffected by what's going on around him.
Those routines are unbelievable. I mean, we saw him at the Junior Europeans, but that was such a different atmosphere. He was the top dog going into it, whereas this now, he's the underdog, but do you know what, he's keep holding his own completely.
And Clinton Pennell, I mean, he's definitely worth a mention, because he was key, wasn't he, to Wales in the team performance. But for him, I mean, he's doing a brilliant individual performance.
Yeah, he's had a fabulous competition, and do you know what, it'll be great for him to be up there in the same group as Daniel Keatings, Max, and he'll gain valuable experience for that. But he's holding his own in that group. I mean, obviously he's just done a great rings routine. So,
and we'll see him again in the rings final.
It's great for Welsh gymnastics to be seen at this competition.
Yeah, and I think even, you know, when we look at the World Championships and the European Championships, you want to really ever get 2 gymnasts in a final, don't you, from the whole of the home nations, you know, from Team GB's perspective. But like you say, to come here and have 3 gymnasts that are allowed per country here, so we're looking at the potential of 3 English, even though Sam Oldham obviously didn't make it because he's in the stands. You've got 3 Scots, and then you've got 3 lads from Wales as well.
And that's great for us. I mean, obviously with the World Championships being here next year, it's a great test event for them all, and the national system will be able to see how they're going. So
we can see here Niall Wilson will be first up. That won't bother him at all, because we saw him go first out in the team final, and he absolutely, you know, he indulged in that. And then Max Whitlock, Clinton Pennell, who we're just talking about, Luke Wadsworth, not doing bad at all. Sukahara, we've been surprised a little bit by his performance. Dan Purvis as well will be using everything he can to get back. Frank Baines as well. Daniel Keatings. But from a rings perspective, just one more time on rings, because for Great Britain it has been a really weak piece. But looking at Frank Baines, looking at Niall Wilson now, we've got real hope, haven't we?
Yeah, we're definitely building, and I think British Gymnastics have targeted rings and thought, you know what, this is our 1 week piece, how can we improve it? And they've really been working hard, and you can see that with the juniors coming through.
And what can we expect on vault from... Well, Max, we know, has been working on this new vault, hasn't he?
Max has got this triple twisting Yurchenko. Not many people do it in the world, and you could see how pleased he was to sort of debut it yesterday. But they're all going to be coming out with a sort of 2.5 twist. Keatings has got a slightly lower difficulty on vault. He's only doing a double twist, or he did in qualification. But it's clean and solid, so there's nothing for the judges to take.
And will that be enough, do you think, for Keatings to stay ahead of Niall Wilson?
Yeah, I mean, he's still got that advantage at the minute of, I think it's about a full mark. So it's going to be, I think, a battle between those two at the minute for the second
And
spot.
how will Keatings be feeling halfway around?
I think he'll be pleased with his performance, and he knows he's got that experience to just keep that focus and not let himself get too giddy and think, I'm nearly there, I'm nearly there. He's got to hold himself back and say, I've still got 3 apparatus. And obviously Volt, he'll be happy with, and P-bars is one of his strongest.
I think he had one of those reality checks yesterday in the team final on parallel bars when he did his double pike dismount and just went a little bit too much. And
the routine was superb, and then he literally did the dismount, maybe a slight lack of concentration, and fell over.
Yeah, got to brace ourselves here, Beth, because the slow motion waves coming round, we don't want to let it down.
That has been one of the highlights in this hydro.
I've never seen the slow motion
No,
Mexican
they do
wave,
it fast motion, and then they do it in slow-mo, and it looks fab.
I'm just looking down now. I just saw Max nice and gently warming up there, and this is the key with Volt, because it's all over in the blink of an eye. How do you prepare for something like Volt?
I think for the gymnastics, it's one of your favourite pieces because it is over so quickly, and you know it. There doesn't tend to be the problems with Volt that you maybe have with the other apparatus.
Yeah. Well, Niall Wilson is at the end of the runway. He's just making sure that everything is right. Scott Hand just putting the board in place. He's set. We are set for the 4th piece of apparatus from 6. You can see that little scoreboard to his right-hand side, 5.6. So that's the difficulty then for England. Niall Wilson currently in 3rd position in this men's all-around final.
Now, can he keep the consistency? 2.5 twists, a little bit deep on the landing, and just to make sure he collected his feet. Very good vault from Niall.
Yes, he just looked a little bit tired today on that, didn't he? He really had to dig deep, get those heels over fast, wrap it in.
The men's individual title has already been decided in spectacular style.
Well, here we go then, with the men's individual all-around final. To the gymnast that's been tipped the all-around champion before he's even stepped onto the floor.
Superb.
Max Whitlock starting his all-around competition in exactly the way he would have wanted.
They used to call the pommel horse the great leveller. Well, for him, it's just another piece of apparatus. That was world-class from Dan Keatings. Look at the smile. He can swing, this young man.
He is looking unaffected by everything that is going on around him. The leader so far, Max Whitlock. How important is this vault for Scotland's Daniel Keatings? It's good enough for Dan.
Very good vault from Niall.
Medal could well be within reach.
What he really is, focused.
He is looking so classy. It couldn't have been any better. Yes, he says. He's absolutely nailed all 6 pieces of apparatus, and Max Whitlock has just landed on a gold medal.
So gold to England's Max Whitlock, silver for Scotland's Dan Keatings, and bronze went to Niall Wilson of England. And down at the Hydro for us, there to reflect on that and to look ahead to the women's all-around competition is former Commonwealth and World Champion Beth Tweddle, and a man who could tumble in his time, Matt Baker. Mac, that was spectacular stuff, and Max Whitlock's a bit of a star, isn't he?
Well, he is world class. I mean, he put in a score of over 90, and that is a very exclusive club on the world stage. But yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I am still reeling from that performance. But we all are, aren't we, Beth? It was just sensational.
It was such an amazing atmosphere. Max had obviously all the pressure on him, but he withheld it and he just walked out there and he commanded from the beginning.
But I think Keating's as well, Gary. I mean, you know, it was so important for him to come here and prove himself. You know, he's had so much unfortunate circumstances with injury and what have you, and this was a really important competition for him, and he came out there and he just delivered every single routine and got that very important silver medal.
Yeah, he did brilliantly, especially as he was left out a couple of years ago for the Olympics. Now, Kohai Uchimura is a superstar in this particular sport. Is Max Whitlock getting to the stage where he could possibly challenge him in the World Championships?
Very much so. I mean, the thing is, you know, since London 2012, he's gone away and he's worked so hard. I mean, a lot of the squad really have maybe rested on their laurels a little bit, you know, been happy with their achievements. But Max, I mean, he's only 21 years old, for goodness sake, and he's just gone to the gym and he's worked and he's worked and he's worked. And just to kind of put it into perspective, Uchimura would be scoring around 92, 93. So he's still a little bit off that pace. But, I mean, at 21, Beth, I'm sure you'd agree, he's got all the future ahead of him.
That is the thing. I mean, in London 2012, I don't think he realised what he had actually achieved until he was able to come home and sort of reflect on it. And between himself and his coach, Scott, they do have sort of a very sort of planned out action plan, and they don't really tell everyone else what's going on, but they know in the back of their minds every step is counting, and they tried a lot of new stuff here in preparation for the World Championships later this year, and then obviously looking ahead to Rio 2016.
Beth, the women are in action in a little while. They're pretty strong as well. Can they emulate the men?
I think they can. I mean, Claudia Fragapane, who was our top qualifier, she will be going out there, and she's new to the international scene, so I'm not quite sure she'll actually feel the pressure because she's just loving being in this atmosphere. Then you've got Hannah Whelan, who's done so many all-around competitions on international, and then Ruby Harold for England as well, but there are a few Canadians that could take that title off us.
What we're seeing here, really, Beth, is your legacy in many ways, isn't it? Because they've all been inspired by you. It must make you feel pretty proud.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? The generation before me started to make finals. I then made the medal and made it possible and showed the younger generation with a lot of hard work and determination and that goal in focus that you could achieve it. And now they're taking it on, and I'm so glad that I can sort of sit behind the scenes and let them take over.
Well, it's very important, isn't it, Matt, in a sport, if you've got people that are being successful, you know, youngsters want to go out there and copy them and be like them.
There is no doubt about it, and really that within that British team you've got so many world finalists, world medalists, Olympic medalists, and just to walk into the gym and have those people around you now, and the older lads, they're getting involved in the coaching stuff for the juniors that are coming through, and honestly, when I tell you the juniors, the quality of those lads is out of this world. Niall Wilson is a very good example of that, because he's literally been up in the senior ranks for a couple of weeks. And here he is. I mean, he posted a near 87 in qualification. So, and Frank Baines as well, he's come up through the juniors. It is just so exciting. Honestly, I cannot wait for the next few years.
No, we're certainly looking forward to coming back to you later for the women's event. And thank you both for now.
Going for the big double twist, not a problem. Real mature performance there.
Cracking routine from her.
Very nice work.
The crowd here are just loving the performance. Absolutely first class.
Well, prepare to be entertained. That is the scene at the Hydro, and there for us to build up to one of the moments of this or any games is former world and Commonwealth champion Beth Tweddle. She's alongside Matt Baker.
And what a story has been unfolding here. Ruby Harold, who qualified in third, is now leading the field here. There's two more pieces of apparatus to go, so it's England 1 and 2 at the moment. Ruby Harold, Claudia Fragapane, and then we have got the Canadian Elizabeth Black in third. We'll have a look at the standings and show you exactly how things lie at the moment. So yes, you can see Ruby Harold leading the field, Claudia Fragapane, Elizabeth Black Elizabeth Beddoe for Wales in 4th. What a performance from her. You can see Hannah Whelan down there in 6th, and really she hasn't given away that many deductions, has she, Hannah? So it just goes to show how tight this competition is.
Yeah, I mean, the difference between sort of 1st and 6th, it's not a lot. And
No.
Hannah's 2 strongest pieces are the 2 pieces still to come. So that's where she'll start to make the difference up. But Ruby has gone out there, stamped her mark and said, I'm here to compete. And then Fragapane, her usual consistent self. So let's just, fingers crossed, they can keep it going.
Well, this is the thing, because Claudia is up first on beam, and she has got a very, very difficult routine indeed.
She has. I mean, she's got the standing full twist right near the end of her routine. She performed it superbly yesterday and helped that team to the goal, but who knows what's going to happen today.
Well, you're just looking at Megan Chant here from Canada. It's her compatriot that is, well, she's in with that real medal chance, really, Elizabeth Black. But this girl qualified 7th for the floor final. So it's all really to play for here. Just a quick nod ahead. How good is Black on beam?
She can be very good, or a beam is just one of those pieces. It really does make or break an all-around final. So after this piece, we'll really know who's in contention.
And finishing on floor, this piece waits for the medal contenders.
Beam is always floor is always the nicest one to finish on. You've got the crowd, you can really engage with them and use that atmosphere and that adrenaline, and it's always a nicer piece to finish on.
And how do you think Ruby Harold will be feeling at the moment, knowing that these aren't the strongest pieces that she's got?
Do you know what? She won't be looking at the scoreboard, she won't be taking any note of that. She'll be stepping back, she'll be focusing on exactly what she's got to come. She can go up and perform cleanly on beam. It's just obviously it's not got the highest difficulty, so she's got to perform cleanly.
So Megan Chant receives the applause from the crowd as Emma White did ever so well for Scotland. But all eyes will be at the other end of the Hydro Arena. You can see the beam just in the background there. It awaits Claudia Fragapane, the gymnast that is in silver medal position in this women's all-around competition.
Well, Beth, we wondered before this competition started, would it be close? And goodness me, it turns out we need some kind of accountancy degree to work out who needs what in this final round. Goodness me. Well, Beth, you've been doing some sums down there. There's kind of 0.3 within the top 3.
Literally, between Harold and Fragapane, there's 0.133, and between Harold and Hannah, it's only 0.2. So there is such small fractions, and obviously Fragapane, she has got that massive floor score. She posted a 14.7 yesterday.
Oh, well...
They're all handing it to each other.
This is
like,
the thing.
You can have it. No, you can have it.
Yeah, and Claudia, I mean, she did think, that's it, it's over for me as soon as she came off. But she did, obviously, packed her beam routine with extreme difficulty.
Yeah.
So even though she did fall because her routine was so difficult, you know, she could afford to give a few little moves away.
We're still waiting for the score from the Canadian, but it'll be so close between all 4 of them. She literally went for that wobble, the foot slipped, but she did everything to save it.
And that wasn't the hardest move, that's the thing.
Exactly, to carry on and keep a nerve to do the full twist in tuck, that shows nerves of steel.
Nerves of steel that are going to be needed on the last piece of apparatus, but she's got a good floor, hasn't she, Fragapane?
She has. She's got an incredible floor. She posted a 14.7 yesterday, which was nearly a whole mark in front of her 2 English teammates.
Oh, well, there we are. Look, it looks good. It looks good going into this final piece, doesn't it? So Ruby Harold with Claudia Fragapane, Elizabeth Black there in 3rd. Yeah.
Who's your bet on?
Fragapane. Because I don't know, I just think because of what she's been through, that she's somehow, I think she'll use that fire to take her into this floor routine.
I think you're right there. I mean,
yes.
I think she will have come off beam and felt, oh, it's gone. But now that she's seen she's still up in the ranks and she's still got the chance, she'll go out there for floor, and she's got dynamic powers. The judges are looking for the massive powerful tumbles, to stay within the lines, the mixture of the jumps and leaps, and also that artistry. And Fragapane has got it all. She's got a bit of body popping in her routine. Obviously, she's going up last, and the crowds are going to be watching her, hoping that she takes that title, just like Max did earlier.
And the thing is as well with Fragapane, the style of her routine is actually a real kind of crowd pleaser. And, you know, the judges are going to be slightly swayed by the impact that a routine has in an arena like this.
They are, but actually she's the last person up, so literally they're going to know what she needs, and the crowd are going to react to this routine. That first tumble, even if you're not a gymnastics fan, you are going to know that is an impressive tumble. And then even the lads are jealous by the power that she has.
And you, I mean, you used to play on that, didn't you, as well as floor world champ? You know, you'd get your castanets out, or you'd get everyone clapping away. No, but with your Spanish feel, you know what I'm saying?
It's the one piece where you can feel that crowd interaction. If you're on bars or beam or boat, you could have an empty stadium and you wouldn't really be able to interact with them. But on floor, you take that energy, and you do have to control that energy, though.
Yeah, can Ruby Harold cope with this?
I think she can. She's done it at major championships before. She's been in world finals, she's been in European finals, but obviously we'll just have to see. And Hannah is an experienced all around. So between all four of them, there is literally 0.3, so it's anyone's.
And she could creep back up there as well, could Hannah? Absolutely.
And to have 3 of our English girls out of the 4 in medal contention, I mean, that would never have sort of happened a few years ago. So it's great for British gymnastics, and obviously Lizzie Beddoe and Wales have got a great standing here as well.
Well, listen, don't go anywhere. This is the final piece of apparatus in the women's all-around competition. What a final piece it's set to be. This Kristen Beckett from South Africa.
Let's wait for Lizzie Beddoe's score. Ruby is waiting, waiting and waiting.
And see the girls with their medals there. The gymnastic trio, England 1, 2 and 3. Claudia Fragapane with the gold, Ruby Harold the silver, and Hannah Whelan with the bronze. What a brilliant effort from those 3. And that adds to England's growing tally of medals.